Time for another board game review, and this time we have the game CrossTalk. This was sent to me by Nauvoo Games and is designed by Brett Sobel and Seth Van Orden. This is the party game of subtle conversation. You have secret keywords, and both teams are trying to guess the same keyword, but they can listen to the other team's clues. Let me show you how to play. So CrossTalk is the party game of subtle conversation where two teams are racing to guess secret keywords. Each round, teams select a clue giver, and those clue givers are given knowledge of the same secret keyword. And their goal is to help their teammates guess the keyword before the other team. Now, at the start of the game, or the start of the round, each clue giver is going to look at the card. So, for example, let's say we have this card here. And the game comes with a dice where if you want to just roll it to decide. Okay, so we rolled a 2. All right. So that means the keyword here is good, or the secret phrase is Game of Thrones. You need to get your team to say Game of Thrones. Now, each clue giver, Team Blue and Team Black, is going to write down a one-word clue that only their team can see. Here are the clue rules. They must be a single word. They must be real words. They may not be in a different language unless that word is also standard English. They may not be proper nouns that are always capitalized. They may not be contained within the keyword. They can't be homophones or acronyms, and that's it. So, I could say, okay, maybe one team, their clue giver writes down the word fantasy. And then they show that to their team. Maybe the other clue giver goes, I'm gonna go novels. And you show it to your team. Now, after this, the clue givers will then alternate providing one-word public clues to everyone. But there is a catch. Whenever your team gives a clue, the other team gets to guess the keyword. So this private clue will help with context, but otherwise you are listening to everyone's clues. If one person gets the keyword on a team, they get a point. Or if both teams run out of guesses, then you just go to the next round. First team to 5 points wins. Now, that's pretty simple. So let's kind of go through how this could go. Let's say I'm on Gengar's team, and Agretsuko here is on the other team. There's nobody here with me right now, otherwise I would have actual people here. I think this game works really well with a 4-player group. That's what I played with and really enjoyed it. But the game can play up to 8. And you use these marker boards for secret communication if necessary. Now, I could say, okay, if Gengar's on my team and the clue is Game of Thrones, I might say, my first clue is violent, okay? So let's say I write down the word violent as my first public clue. Now, Agretsuko, or Retsuko, has the opportunity to guess. If she manages to guess Game of Thrones right then and there, her team scores. Whereas if she doesn't, then the other team gets to go. Let's say the other clue giver says, let's say, I don't know, dragons. Now these run the risk of being a little too obvious, because the problem is if you're too obvious and Gengar goes, oh, well, it's got to be Game of Thrones, then you've given up the point. Now, the game also does come with hint boards. Hint boards are ways to sort of communicate like clues and like guesses. Like you can be like, okay, no, that was the opposite of that, or this one's a synonym. I personally didn't think these were necessary at all. I think the game is fun where you are just going off the clues. And this felt like it was just made it too easy. So I would recommend not playing with these. But if you're having a group that is kind of struggling, then I could see these coming in handy. But otherwise, that's the entire game. You're writing down private clues, handing them to your team, passing or taking turns giving public clues, and hoping that your clues aren't obvious enough so that because the other team always gets the chance to guess when you give a clue. And that's the game. So this was an absolute blast to play. I gave me the feel of a game like Decrypto, but it was even simpler than that and still very fun. I had no use for the hint board, like I said before. I think the game is better when it's more challenging. But, of course, it's there for you if you think you need it. This worked really well with 4 players. That way you didn't have to mess with the boards to do secret communication. But I do appreciate that you have the option to play up to more. But if you have a 4-player group, this game works perfectly. What works about this game is, even though at its core it's simple to learn, there are a lot of these fun layers to it. Whether it's that very important private clue that's like, listen, only you have this info, the other team might not have it. And you're also trying to guess, what do you think the other team wrote, as well as the clue giver? And sometimes you write the same thing, and you're like, oh, I think they wrote the same clue. It's very interesting to think about. You're trying to figure out what would be the most helpful clues to give, while also thinking about, okay, what's my fellow clue giver gonna give? And you're studying their clues and bouncing off their clues, and of course trying to make your clues not too obvious, so the other team doesn't guess. And of course there's that rush of excitement when they finally get the right answer. There are so many things to think about with these really fun sort of twists on the genre. There's also a good variety of answers in the game, so it felt challenging enough to always feel fresh. Like in some of these word guessing games, I find the answers too easy. This one I felt like it was just the right balance of, okay, this is tricky, but a lot of these are gettable, especially after 10 guesses. So I had a great time with this. I think if you're looking for a solid word guessing party game that's very easy to teach, you can literally learn this in like a minute. I highly recommend this one. I thought this was super fun.